Alrighty, we are here for week 11. So I have finished my second to last week here at in the hand therapy fieldwork, and it feels quite crazy, honestly. I think it's so hard to think that I only have 1 week left. Um, it's I don't even really know how to explain it. It feels so weird, because I feel like I could probably be a forever student. Um, I think I've learned so much from Steph that in a little short period of time that I feel like I could learn at least like a lifelong bit of knowledge from her. So I think it's going to be hard for me to leave because I'm starting to feel I'm starting to feel comfortable and confident, which I wish that I would have at least I was always felt comfortable with everyone where I'm working. Um, but I think that if I would have just been confident in myself a lot further down the road, um, it probably would have helped me a lot more. But I guess that's why it's a learning experience. So that's one tip. Be more confident in yourself because you do know more than you think you know. But also, I think it's just crazy to see where I've started and then now where I'm at because it really is a crazy thing to think. Like, I learned a majority of these skills. Yes, you learned your things in school, but I learned a majority of these skills when I was, here for 3 months. And 3 months may seem like a long time, but it has flown by. And I think that you don't realize how much you're learning until you're really putting that together. So now this week, I pretty much had everyone on the caseload. There might have been like two or three people that Steph saw instead of me. Uh, but it's like, wow, I'm actually doing this, which I think, is something that the first week that you're there, you sit there and you watch your supervisor and you're observing and you're like, oh my gosh, this lady is insane. She's so smart and talented and she can just come up with anything. And I'm like, I don't know that I'm going to do that. But you're starting to see, like, oh, those pieces are starting to fit together for me a little bit more. Obviously, I am nowhere near the level of experience that my supervisor has, but I am to the point where, it's a little bit easier for me to just go and be like, go to the cabinet and be like, what intervention am I going to do today? It's a lot easier to be like, I'm going to work on fine motor skills. I'm going to do this, or this. Which at first I had a lot of issues with because I think a lot of times I would overthink it and I'd try to come up with some grand treatment idea when it really didn't need to be grand. If it worked on what I needed to work on, it was great. And my patient was motivated and they were enjoying it. Hey, that's what you need to do. That's what we're here for. But then I also think that there's times where, you know, I still I appreciate watching still. I know a lot of students may think like, oh, I want to like, get to treat. But for me, yes, I enjoy treating and I think that it really helps you kind of hone in on some of the skills that you are trying to work on. But it's also really valuable at this point in time too, to be able to watch. So there was a point in time where I watched an eval this week and I watched a treatment session from Steph this week. And it was something that I was like, I still really find the value in watching because, sometimes, we had a discussion where it was like, hey, I'm going to handle this eval today because I don't really know what I'm looking for at this point. I don't really know what's the diagnosis. It's a little bit, I don't, it's just something that you probably won't understand right off the bat. And I was like, nope, I completely understand. I think that I will actually really benefit from watching you do it because sometimes it's like you're doing all of these things, but there might be a little piece where you're like, I feel like I'm missing that. So then when you get to watch and observe, it's like, oh, this is how she does it. That's a really good idea. And you might have just missed that because you were in the zone and you were kind of doing something differently. So it's not that you have to follow your supervisor like a book and do exactly how they do it. You are your own person, but it's also like don't ever discount the value of getting to observe and getting to just watch, because sometimes that's where you learn the most, and then you get to put that into practice, and then you're like, oh, that's why you do that. So you might learn it while you're observing, but then when you actually use it with someone, it's like, oh, that makes sense. But I am still Steph is still like a wizard with splinting, and she comes up with, she'll be like, oh, you need this, okay, as long as we have an order for it, we'll figure out a way to, you know make you something that's going to help your issue, which I think is just mesmerizing kind of to watch, because it's like, how do you put that together and you get that in 10-15 minutes? But she does, because she it's just really neat to watch that process, because as a student, you get to see your wrist cock up splints, resting hand, something like that, which are by no means little, but they're kind of your traditional ways. But then you see a lot of things that may not be traditional, and they need to be thought about outside of the box. And she can be like, we're going to work on the IP extension. Okay, here's this, and it's cool to see how, with such experience and such knowledge, she's able to bring everything together and make something that really benefits the client or the patient. So I think that that's something that I really have enjoyed being able to watch, because sometimes, as an entry-level therapist, as a student, you're not going to have that kind of knowledge. But to be able to see that, and to see, okay, she says that we want to work on this. How can we work on that? So you can be thinking in your head, hey, this is something that we could work on, but then see what your supervisor comes up with, because that's really neat to see, like, hey, was I kind of on the right track? Or, hey, not really, but it's kind of interesting to see where they're coming from. So that was week 11, and I will be back next week for my very last week here. It's gonna be sad for me to probably do this last video, but I have really enjoyed my experience here, and I hope that these videos have been helping you understand a little bit more about what it's like from a student's perspective. And I hope that it kind of inspires you or helps you during maybe your field work to experience as well.